Welcome back. Nigeria's President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time magazine. The 71-year-old former governor of Lagos State was listed among the 20 world leaders that made the 2023 edition of the magazine. Tinubu was listed alongside First Lady of Ukraine, Olena Zelenska, United States President Joe Biden, and other world leaders. Now, away from that update, let's share with you what's happening in the political space in Nigeria.
That's right. Now, aside from the fact that Tinubu has been named amongst the top 100 in Times Magazine, many of the APC supporters have said it is indeed a good feat worthy of celebration. And that mention in Time Magazine was as a result of his continuous fight for democracy away from military rule. But the picture you find there on the screen takes us to our very next story, away from celebrating the 100 being mentioned and also having Tinubu in on that list. But let's go straight to our next story now. Well, the next one has to do with the continuous situation that's ongoing in the Nigeria political sphere. Earlier on, we had brought to you the story on the front pages of the paper that Tinubu, that's the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and not forgetting too, the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar are at loggerheads exchanging verbal wars. Well, it hasn't stopped there. As Nigeria's election saga continues to play out, People's Democratic Party's governorship aspirant in Kogi State, Dino Melaye, has continued to make some shocking revelations about a one-time ally, the governor of River State, Nyesom Wike. Now, one of his revelations is how the governor of River State, Nyesom Wike, allegedly begged him to ensure PDP's presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar picked him as a running mate.
Dino Melaye also revealed that losing the party's presidential primary to Atiku last year, Wike had refused to work with the party's candidates, saying the embattled chairman of the party, Iochia Ayu, should step aside. Wike, in collaboration with other four governors, had insisted that they would not allow the candidates of the party and the PDP chairman to be Northerners.
Well, we have so much to talk about concerning this, and what we'll do is we do have our guest who's in. Inko is in the house. Inko, thank you for joining us. But before we continue with this conversation, we'd like to go for a quick break. When we come back, our focus will be on this particular story. Well, joining us now is Ipunabo Inko Taria. He is the former SA to River State Governor Nyesom Wike. He joins us live this morning as our conversation continues, and will perhaps help us throw more light to this ongoing situation. Before you go on with your response, I'd like us to take a look at the interview that was carried out by AIT News Channel, and I'd like you to react to it. Let's take a look.
Any other interview, if he will not wash his hands out of Kogi State and leave Dino Melaye alone, my primary business is other people's businesses. If I open my can of worms and maggots on Wike, but I'm waiting for him. His territory that he's trying to practice is my own primary constituency, and I'm waiting for him. Wike was calling me when Atiku Abubakar was to announce his running mates. I have records, and I've printed it out, and I'm waiting for him. He called me 19 times in 2 hours, begging us to convince Atiku Abubakar to make him the vice presidential candidate. So when I see him lying on TV, because of the south of this country, because of southern Nigeria, the regime of moves to south, you that were lobbying us and begging us, promising us heaven and earth to convince Atiku Abubakar to make you vice presidential candidate, to the extent that he was at the airport. I have a video. He spent hours in the airport waiting for me to call him to say, Atiku, I've picked you as a... He was at the airport here, waiting, calling me.
All right, so Inko Taria, what's your take on this ongoing challenges or wrangling in the PDP?
Well, first I will start by saying Wike met his match in Dino Melaye. That's the truth. I mean, as got as finished as these issues can be, or the two parties can be, but he met his match in Dino Melaye. I mean, he shot the first salvo. He had no business delving into the Kogi State governorship candidate. A lot of people say, well, it's the primaries, and as a result of that, since he's a member of the PDP, he also has a right to decide. But I think it's the exclusive preserve of the Kogi State PDP and the members Kogi State individuals. Wike has no business whatsoever delving into who becomes the governor or the flag bearer of Kogi State. That's not his state. But he has this attitude of wanting to control, not just the PDP, have a control of the nation via the parties. We saw what happened in Lagos State, where he went to Lagos State during the governorship, before the governorship election, and endorsed the Lagos State governor for a second term. You saw what happened in Akwa Ibom. You saw what happened in Cross River, even though his candidates all lost in those states and so on. He wants his hand everywhere. He wants to dominate.
Right.
That is what we refer to as a drum major instinct, feeling extremely important. And in the last presidential election, well, probably he played a role in ensuring that Rivers votes were allegedly given to the APC presidential candidate, who is now the president-elect. But I can tell you that in Rivers State, the man who actually won the election was Peter Obi. Well, it is subjected to the clinical prognosis of the legal lab, and we pray and hope that the Lord Justices of the Supreme Court will do justice to that matter, that they will not just pass judgment, but will ensure that justice prevails.
All right.
We just hope, because my candidate is actually Atiku Abubakar, but I want to be as honest as I can that Peter Obi won Rivers State. I mean, the facts are there, but let's wait for the Supreme Court judgment. I know it's going to start from the Court of Appeal, but I say Supreme Court judgment because that is the final arbiter in this the presidential elections.
Okay.
So if you ask me, I'll say he fired the press out. Then on the issue of what a lot of people refer to as disclosure, it's no disclosure, it's no secret that the issue of equity, fairness, and justice was just a specious reason given by Governor Nyesom Wike simply because he lost out in the vice presidential bid. We all know, Nigerians are quite aware of that. And that was why it was not taken seriously at all by any serious-minded Nigerian.
All right, let's talk about the relationship between Wike and Dino Melaye. Now, in an interview granted recently, Dino Melaye stated categorically that Wike was a big sponsor of his 2019 elections. And what has changed between 2019 and 2023? And, how exactly do we think that is as a result of Wike having lost being a party to being the vice president? Or was there something to the story that we're not aware of?
If I have to summarize your question, because there's so much distortion. Are you saying what went wrong between Wike and Dino Melaye?
Yes, from 2019 to 2023.
Yes, it's simple. It's quite simple. I mean, Dino Melaye is a strong supporter of Atiku Abubakar. And look at what happened to the likes of Austin Afara, the likes of Abie Sekibo, the likes of Celeste Nume and co. What is their crime? Simply because they went and supported Atiku Abubakar. So whoever supports Atiku Abubakar automatically became an enemy of Governor Nyesom Wike. What he wants is this. I say wants because it's continuous. What he wants is this. Because there's this friction, he has this problem with Atiku Abubakar. Every other person must have problems with Atiku Abubakar. If you don't have problems with Atiku Abubakar, then you automatically is enemy. That is the problem between Dino Melaye. But then, let us also look at it this way. Like Dino said, he sponsored him in 2019. And right now, what has gone wrong? Nothing. The truth about it is that Dino Melaye, like Wike himself said, when they said, you installed Presuche Secondus, what happened? What went wrong? Why were you also instrumental to his removal? He said, if I know you today to be a good man and tomorrow I have a different impression of you, or you do something that is adverse to my principles, of course I will go against you. And that is the same thing Dino has done. So why do you have to blame Dino? He said that of McAfee. He said that of the former governor who became the national chairman and now went back to, he took him to court. I've forgotten that his name. He said that of him. I'm talking of Wike. That if today I support you and tomorrow I find you have done something that is antithetical to my principles, to my beliefs, of course I'll leave you. Wike said that. So if today Dino has also realized that what Wike is doing is antithetical to his own ambition, Because whether I like it or not, politics is all about interest. It's antithetical to his own ambition, and by extension, the ambition, or Atiku's ambition, and by extension, his own ambition. Of course, he will definitely fall out with him. So why is he so incensed right now?
All right, Inko.
What crime has Dino committed
Inko, I'd like to ask now.
2019 and 2023 that you are going to say you're going against it?
But is there really any strength
that he supported Atiku Abubakar?
Inko,
And that is the point Dino was trying to make.
All right, but is there any strength to the statement that Wike is saying? He's saying that PDP will lose the gubernatorial ticket, gubernatorial elections in Kogi if Dino Melaye is given that ticket. Is there really any strength to that? And I'm asking this because we saw how strongly the G5 governors positioned themselves. Do you think that he has that level of influence to be able to, maybe his statement has any level of influence?
Let me tell you the truth.
Yes.
The politics in Kogi State might be quite different from the politics in River State, like Dino rightly said. Now, it will be a misconception to think that the G5 played a major role in the loss of Atiku Abubakar, or purported loss. I mean, let us look at it this way. All the G5 governors, except one or two, lost their senatorial seats. If they have that gravitas, they would have won their senatorial seats. They lost their senatorial seats. So which means even the influence they perceived, if at all they ever had it, had waned. That is number one. Number two, in River State, where it is also said that Atiku lost, if they carry out, of course it's before the court, so I don't really need to dwell on that, they will see that the person who actually won was Atiku. The election was rigged in connivance with INEC. It's not as if Atiku, what's his name again? The president-elect won the election. That is false.
Okay.
The president did not win River State.
Okay.
Atiku also did not win River State. The man who won River State was Labour Party. Atiku is my candidate.
Inko,
I will say the truth.
I'm glad that you've been very vocal about your position in this regard, Inko, but I'm going to have to interject at this time, and I thank you so much. We always like to have you. And there's so many angles to this conversation, so we please would have to beg you to come back with us because we've unfortunately run out of time. But thank you so much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
I'm always ready.
Thank you so much. Thank you.